we woke up ourselves from the shock, we realized that the victims were innocent people. That no act of tribulation is moral in response to this crime.
The error of some elements in the Muslim world is in their laid-back approach prior to these chain of events. Two groups exist: those who have become content to remove their identity and merge into the society, a group that now lies exposed and homeless, desperately turning back to their Islamic identity for shelter. And the second group, the isolationist, who has left a niche of educating the non-Muslim world to the non-Muslim world. This selfish exclusion has now brought great misunderstanding, and from misunderstanding, the Muslims living in the West have now found themselves surrounded by people who fear them. The previous narrow generalizations of stereotyping and alienating the West have been to no benefit. What many have failed to recognize is that America is a massive nation made up of many ethnic minorities and cultures. It is a nation with a broad range of views, and has brought forth some of the most revolutionary thinkers such as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Within this wide variety of people, there are hearts and minds begging to learn about Islam, but they are left wanting. The media has been pumping out anti-Islamic material for decades, and now that things have come to a head, the newly stimulated Muslim groups have risen from their slumber to fight a media battle that is in its maturity. When Hitler came to power, he slowly called for one item after another, until finally his true agenda was revealed. He did not on one sunny day come straight out and profess that all Jews were the enemies of Germany. This sympathy was built up in stages until a frenzy of emotion was created, so unbridled that whatever Hitler declared was acceptable. No one dared challenge him. No one dared question if it was right or wrong. For those who forget history, they are doomed to repeat it. The past, future, and present are invariably linked in a cyclic dance. Nations do not come to power by acts of generosity, nor do they stay there with compassion and sincerity. The jewel of freedom is protected by an army of thieves. Let us not be fooled by the charity arm that they have extended to the Afghan people. Charity has a double edge. It maintains a good public image, and it acts to control people. Starving people make poor soldiers, and they will never bite the hand that feeds them. Freedom for the West means the descent of the Third World. The lifestyles enjoyed in the West are all possible because of a complete world system that keeps certain nations and their people in check. Slavery and such systems enforced by the West on the so-called Third World built up their empires and feed a society bent on maintaining a standard of living by continuous taxation and exploitation. These are the unconfessed secrets of the superpowers of the world. It is a savage, parasitic reality. The US tragedy brought home a concept alien to the American people. The reality of the suffering of the rest of the world for a long time has been far removed from American lives. This pain has ultimately overflown, and tragedy has shown itself to be an indiscriminate beast. A war has begun, and already the first victims are truth and innocence. Their arrogance is the seed of destruction. All they claim they have come to defend is what they will strip from the world. Security and sanctity will be violated as the enemies of the Western dominance become ever more incognito. All of our tears fall to a thirsty earth that has seen centuries of oppression of man by the hand of man. We turn to the one true God and pray that he makes their evil intentions like dust in the wind.
This is the president, like the president before him and the one before him, who believes in killing people to solve our international disputes.
The European definition now isn't necessarily the definition.
That in a world of an eye for an eye, the whole world is a block.
Satisfied, and we will not be satisfied.
like a mighty tree.
And a closer look at the CIA.
Because the rest of the Muslim countries,
powers.
the rest of all the kings and the presidents, kneeled before America, kneeled before George Bush, kneeled before Tony Blair, and could only say, yes, sir, you can use our ground, you can use our earth, you can burn our brothers and sisters, and we don't care.
Manuel Noriega helped the Mexican Air Force control the movement of cocaine from Colombia and Bolivia through Panama and into the US. Noriega's life was threaded through corrupt Panamanian politics since the 1960s. His career of drug trafficking and money laundering profited from the close cooperation with the DEA, who arrested his competitors. Noriega had enjoyed a long stint on the CIA payroll in return for many services, such as helping the covert wars against Salvadoran rebels and his offer of assistance to Oliver North. Noriega's arrogance later became an embarrassment to the Bush administration. Noriega's reign was concluded when George Bush ordered the Operation Just Cause invasion in December 1989, in what was summarized as the most expensive one-man drug bust in history. General Omar Torrijos preceded him, a populist whose rule was ended in a suspicious 1981 plane crash that some believe was CIA arranged.
I understand that people are suspicious of the CIA. Our activities are secret, and accordingly there is not a lot of public understanding of what we do. In the course of recruiting agents to penetrate drug cartels, to break up those groups that bring drugs to the United States, our case officers, our men and women, deal with bad people, very bad people.
The CIA had initially emerged as a small operation with limited jurisdiction. However, almost immediately, they would be allowed to operate according to their own laws and with very few restrictions. They were also given the power to undertake covert operations. The question now emerges of who really was in charge. By 1953, when Alan Dulles became director, the agency had already become its own governor. His brother ran the State Department. They had in fact become what was described as a de facto shadow government. They provided information about their actions only when they thought it was necessary. Directive NSC-4 empowered the agency to allow them greater elbow room in the international arena in the fight against communism. The truth was out there, but could not be entrusted to the American public, or even the American president. All of their actions were therefore untouched by external influence and strictly controlled internally. Using money, propaganda, and influence, the agency played a vital role in determining the outcome of elections in many of the European countries that were emerging from the devastation of World War II. They ensured the defeat of the communists in the 1948 Italian elections and the major victory of the Labour Party in Israel. Throughout its existence, the agency had survived 10 presidents. Truman became wary of them. Eisenhower went along with whatever they did. Kennedy was determined to tear them down brick by brick, while Lyndon, like Eisenhower, gave all their operations a rubber stamp. Richard Nixon used the agency for his own dirty tricks operations. After Nixon's resignation, the CIA would be in as much disarray as the country. President Jimmy Carter was to make the first move to ensure that the rules of the US were respected. In 1977, he appointed Admiral Stansfield Turner as director of the agency. They both wanted operatives to concentrate on high-tech information gathering and phase out all of their not-too-admirable operations. Unfortunately, when Ronald Reagan came into power, Turner would be replaced by William Casey, a veteran of the OSS. The agency could now return to dirty tricks, destabilization, and quasi-military covert ops. George Bush was the head of the CIA, and when he came to power, he was beyond the shadow of a doubt the CIA's man at the top. As a CIA top man, and as a president, he was rumored to be involved in some unspeakable covert operations, from involvement in the Kennedy assassination to Irangate. The link between the current President George W. Bush needs close attention. After all, He is his father's son.